and thank you for joining me for this discussion on relating story points to hours. Story points are often used in Scrum, but there is a common yet finely drawn misconception made by teams and organizations when it comes to their relationship to discrete time units such as hours. At a high level, story points and hours can both be perceived as a means to the same end. They both support estimating the work involved in delivering a product to the customer. But they are not interchangeable and are both key elements to helping teams achieve success within Scrum. Although they are similar in that they both provide a mechanism for estimating work and can mistakenly be perceived as interchangeable estimation units, there is a subtle yet highly significant difference that results in the need for both. In other words, story points and hours are not directly interchangeable, but they both have their place within the life cycle of a Scrum project with unique purposes and benefits at different points within the life cycle. Let's step back and think about how a Scrum team builds a project. The product owner defines the product backlog and needs to understand how the various items relate to one another in order to establish priority order. One of the considerations that can impact prioritization is the relative size of each item. The product owner also needs to communicate estimates of when certain capabilities are expected to be delivered to the customer. Schedule predictions are inherently based on time. Thus, the main consideration for schedule prediction is how much output a team can produce within a discrete time period. The developers build the functionality that satisfies the criteria defined by the product owner for items in the product backlog. They need to understand the relative size of product backlog items in order to plan how and when they will build sets of functionality from several perspectives, considering development efficiencies, release content, and deployment planning. Developers also need to understand how long it will take to build specific product backlog items from a discrete time perspective in order to confidently commit to completing a set of product backlog items at the conclusion of the sprint planning event. When a team starts a sprint, they should have a high degree of confidence that the work they have committed to is achievable within the sprint time box. The sprint time box is a fixed amount of time. Therefore, discrete time units such as hours help the team confidently predict completion of the work within a fixed amount of time. Two distinct estimation characteristics emerge as we think about the needs of Scrum teams from an estimation perspective. Estimation units can be either relative, representing size in relationship to other estimated items in the backlog, or discrete, representing fixed units of time. So far, we have established that two forms of estimation units are required, relative and discrete. Story points are relative estimation units, while discrete time can be reflected in units such as hours or days. A story point can be defined as a measure of the relative size of a product backlog item that takes into account factors such as complexity and physical size. When a team uses story points to estimate product backlog items, they establish one or more basis stories, and they assign subsequent story point values to other backlog items relative to the basis stories. Story points represent the output produced by the team. In other words, story points provide a measure for the amount of value being delivered to the customer. Discrete estimation units, such as days or hours, are assigned based on the amount of time it will take a team to produce a unit of work. If discrete units were used to directly estimate a product backlog item, the team would consider how much time it would take them to complete the work associated with delivering the item. The estimate would be based on the team's understanding at that moment in time. As time passes and the team learns more about the requirements and implementation details, the validity of the estimate will diminish. In other words, the probability of the estimate being correct is very low. Another important characteristic of discrete estimation units is that they are a measure of input required to build and deliver a product backlog item. Ultimately, when the number of actual hours spent delivering a unit of functionality is recorded, it simply reflects how much cost was expended in order to achieve the goal. In Scrum, velocity is the tool that is used to bring together relative point estimations with discrete time estimates. It provides a consistent measure of team output each sprint, which translates to how much of the product backlog can be delivered within a sprint time box. For more information on applying velocity in Scrum, please view my videos entitled Story Points versus Hours and Velocity at the links provided in the video description.